Hey gang, welcome to Monday Morning Pearls, brought to you by Span the Chasm. My name is Randy Remersma. We're continuing our series called Focus on What Matters, where we're learning from some of the best guys and gals who are out there selling like crazy, making $500,000 a year or more. What are they doing that is so amazing? And the fundamental base that we're building this thing on is from John D. Rockefeller's quote, "Success is doing common things uncommonly well." Today is part 2 of our value segment in here. What are we talking about with value and how they create it and how they manage it? Today's more on the, a little bit on the create, but also on the manage side. Just for redefining, what is value? Value is the difference between the current state and the future state as seen in the mind of the prospect. While your opinion is interesting, it's kind of irrelevant. We have got to make this gap in the mind of the prospect. That is value. Where they are today, where they're trying to get to, that is value. All right, so a couple things on here that I want to talk about that the great guys and gals are doing. Number one, they are constantly re-stretching value. Here's the thing. You have this great meeting where you talk about the current state and how horrible things are in this future state that's just glorious and wonderful. Maybe you got manual error-prone data that's hard to get a hold of and takes weeks to get under control to instantaneous and accurate, and oh, it just sounds amazing. But the second your meeting ends after that conversation, it starts stretching, relaxing back, because people forget the emotional intensity of that gets softened over time. They so the reps that are great, they constantly re-stretch that and remind people back to that. And they actually use this as the way they close their meetings and start their next meetings. And what they do is they have the client, the prospect, restate what we talked about that aligns his value, where we're trying to get to, and then they use that as the agenda for the next meeting. When we start the next meeting, hey, when last we spoke, you said this mattered. Does it still matter? If not, what has changed, so that we can navigate around that. And the other thing they do is they realign to that constantly, because that is what sometimes things change, and they have to make sure that we're still dealing with stuff that is relevant. And the reason that's so important is a lot of times sales reps get excited. Man, we got this great current state and future state, and it looks wonderful, and the gap is this big because that's what they said last time. But maybe initiatives changed or things changed inside of your prospect's world, and it may not matter anymore, and that gap may actually have evaporated and you don't even know it. We got to come back and ask and make sure of that. So 2 things. One, they re-stretch that constantly re-stretching that, constantly re-stretching that, and they're always realigning back to it to make sure it's still valid, what has changed. And they're using that value, especially with long-term sales cycles. You got something that lasts a while, takes a while to sell, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. It's easy to get real operational in the sales process. Once we've established that value early on, then we get operational. That shrinks and it gets operational and emotionally heavy. Constantly restretching that value gap, that will help us out. You might want to read Keenan's book, Gap Selling. Talks about some of these principles nicely. A good way to learn about some of that. And as always, feel free to share our content. And here's all the ways you can get in touch with us. Whether it's email, web, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.